the knee of justice, the Falcon punch, Come on! He's the Chuck Norris of video games whose memes will wreck your shit. It's Captain Falcon. Yet the stuff I just mentioned depicts his traits from Smash Bros., where he's more known for that than his own series, and that's kind of pathetic. But can you really blame us? For most people, Smash Bros. Was the first time we were ever introduced to him. I know I certainly was. Hell, it wasn't until Melee that I finally grasped that he was from a racing series. But man, what a racing series it is that, again, unfortunately, doesn't get nearly enough love that it should. Especially when F-Zero is one of Nintendo's oldest franchises. Okay, maybe not Mario or Zelda old, but it's not that far off since it was a launch title for the Super Nintendo that set the standard for racing games of its time, and is pretty much responsible for the creation of the futuristic racing genre. That's quite the legacy. Yet it's been 13 years since the last big F-Zero game, and honestly it's a shame because F-Zero has barely scratched the surface on the potential the series has. But I'm getting ahead of myself. This is a review episode, so I kinda have to review something and not just mentally get off on Captain Falcon and his fabulous racing series.
Show me a move.
Now, don't worry, Douglas. I'll be back with you after I review your spectacular series.
Come on!
Hey, I know. But don't you worry. I'll be back to show you my moves in a bit, so just hold on for a bit.
Yes!
See you soon. Start off where it began, shall we?
Show me a moves.
Well, since it's an older game, let's check out the manual to see if we can find anything goofy from the past. It is now the year 2560, and due to the human race's countless encounters with alien life forms throughout the universe, Earth's social framework, expanding boobies. Simply F-Zero. Hell yeah! So yeah, that's a lot of backstory for a racing game. Hell, the manual even includes a comic book to show out the 4 playable characters even more than their little summaries. Also, is it just me or is Captain Falcon kinda douchey here? I've got no time for losers. Now you'll learn how real men do battle. Pretty arrogant in your early days, aren't you, Falcon? And holy shit, did he just kill Buddy with a gun? I mean, I know he shot first, but damn! Death by gunshot in the Nintendo series. Oh, how times have changed. But anyway, F-Zero follows the typical rules of a racing game. You compete against other racers to come in first and win all the Grand Prix. I know it's pre, but I always feel that urge to say pricks. The letter X is bullshit, people. So what set F-Zero apart from most racers at the time, and even today, was its sense of speed. In this game, you're going over 500 kilometers an hour, and back in its prime, this was a big deal thanks to the Mode 7 thingy. I don't know, apparently made the sense of speed more pronounced. But this was the first time you really felt that sense of speed the game was going for, and it shaped how you played the game. This isn't your Mario Kart where you need to rely on stars and blue shells. No. This game required some skill. You had to have quick reflexes to make some of these turns. You had to memorize these tracks or else you were gonna hit every wall and obstacle imaginable, blowing up your racer in the process. Lastly, to make sure you kept your lead, you had to know when to use your boost power, which also meant you had to have an even better grasp on the amount of skill this game wanted from you or else, you die. So, the racers you get to potentially kill are Captain Falcon and his Blue Falcon, described as the good starting character for new players to get a handle on the game. Next is Samurai Goro and his Fire Stingray that's rumored to be stolen, if you know what I mean. He's our heavyweight character for this game, so he accelerates slowly but reaches the highest top speeds and is apparently really good at cornering. And I think I can vouch for that, because I don't know if it's just me, but I find the Fire Stingray more user-friendly than the Blue Falcon. Am I the only one that feels that way? I don't even know why the hell I'm asking this, like I'm actually gonna get a fucking answer.
Cause you are an attention-seeking whore who needs people who you don't know to answer you so you feel important. Get over yourself.
You're a dick. Next up is Dr. Stewart and his Golden Fox, and it's described as your typical lightweight with good acceleration. Yet, what I found shocking was the manual says that the Golden Fox should be reserved for skilled players. That just blows my mind since I always viewed lightweights as beginner-friendly racers, but for this type of racing, the manual is surprisingly accurate. Who would have thought? Last and certainly not least is Pico and his Wild Goose, a machine designed to have high defense, allowing the bloodthirsty Pico to be aggressive on the road. And that's the roster, folks. Yeah, only 4 racers. So yeah, what else can I really say about this one? Actually, quite a lot, since there's some things I love about this game and a couple things I fucking despise too. The themes and style were both somewhat kind of realistic, but somewhat kind of not. But they were colorful, not to mention pretty unique, so that's gonna get points in my book for that. And the music style is definitely SNES era, but still pretty good with Mute City and Big Blue becoming some of Nintendo's most famous tunes. But you can tell it's showing its age. What was once mind-blowing graphics and speed is pretty tame now by today's standards. There was also some design choices that I'm not a big fan of, such as White Land 2. Anyone who's played knows exactly what the fuck I'm talking about. It's one of those beginner's trap scenarios where you most likely won't make this jump your first go simply because you probably didn't even know that you could pull back on a D-pad to make you go further. Which creates another problem where if you don't know about this mechanic, this could have been a permanent brick wall for players for years until either hearsay, or even longer until internet access became mainstream. This honestly reminds me of Sonic 3's Carnival Night Zone Act 2 with that dead end and that stupid fucking spinning thing. If you didn't know you can move its momentum up and down with the D-pad, you probably would have spent hours trying to jump on it in motion to get past it since this was how it was fucking presented to you. And chances are, you never got past it unless you lucked out. But at least here, you got 10 minutes per life to try and figure it out. Unlike here where it's do or die. Shit like this sucks because it could prevent you from experiencing the entire game. Yeah, sure, nowadays info on how to get past something like this is at our fingertips, but in 1991? Haha, not so much. I'm also not a fan of Death Valley's wind gimmick or Port Town's magnet border obstacle. In Death Valley, you always have your car being pushed to the left or right by said gimmick, and in Port Town, there's these bars that'll pull you towards the walls, both with the intention of making you ride a wall and lose health. I just don't like these. It's not like the other obstacles where you hit them, you just take damage, or you have slowdown, or your car becomes slippery. Those are welcome, because no matter what, you still feel like you're in control. Here, it feels like someone has taken the controller out of my hand and is just being a dick. Port Town isn't as bad as Death Valley as it isn't Constant, but I still dread whenever I have to play these stages. And since these two hazards weren't brought back in later games, I'm guessing I wasn't the only one that wasn't a fan of them. Lastly, it's missing one of the most important things you could ever have in a racing game. A two-player mode. I don't know if it was just an oversight or a technical thing that prevented the game from having it, but either way, alongside the other issues, it definitely makes F-Zero a hard one to come back to. And this is coming from a huge F-Zero fan, but I can't sugarcoat its flaws simply because it's considered a classic. When it's on a level that doesn't have these issues I brought up, F-Zero is an amazing game to play. But when it is one of those levels, more times than not, I just want to stop playing. And not having multiplayer does not help this game at all. I'm not saying F-Zero as a whole is horrible, it's just not a game that you're going to play for hours on end. It was still a good launch title for its time, and I suggest anyone who's interested in the series to check it out to at least develop a better appreciation of F-Zero's roots. So, after the success of F-Zero, it's safe to assume that Nintendo was already planning a sequel, which they were, but not in the way you would think. In fact, it was released only in Japan through the Satellaview, an add-on for the Super Famicom that allowed you to download games the service was broadcasting at the time, which meant that this was the only way you could play these exclusive games too, since even today they have never seen a re-release. So the next F-Zero game Japan got was BS F-Zero Grand Prix. What the fuck?
They did it. They finally fucking did it. The games broke me. Oh, how the hell do you not know what F-Zero sounds like? Oh, you guys, you just, I don't get it. I don't.
Race is on. F-Zero. More levels, more racers, more skill, more danger, more speed, more Mode 7. This time, you really learn how men do battle.
I'm okay now.
Oh yeah, now this is a sequel, no fucking BS here, and for the most part, X improved on just about everything. The first thing you'll notice is that, well, besides the fact that it's in 3D, which means more variety in level design, like loop-de-loops and these 6-cylinder tunnel tracks. Actually, that's a pretty big improvement. Okay, well, the second thing you should notice right off the bat is the control. Oh my god, this is such a huge improvement. There's never a time where I feel like I'm not in control. Well, outside of something I'll be getting into in a minute. If I'm crashing into a wall or hitting an obstacle, it's my fault, not because of some cheap obstacle gimmick like the two I mentioned earlier. Thank Christ they are gone now. Health and boosting is also improved on. Just like in the first game, you had a health bar which would deplete if you hit walls, obstacles, etc. And once you got to zero, well, kablamo. To hell with this, there were healing spots that if you drove over, you could regain some life. Problem was, there was a delay in it, so you weren't going to get a whole lot back in most cases. In X though, the minute you drive over these healing spots, you regenerate health instantly. Which that in itself is a blessing, but now it's a must because boosting requires health now. Before you would get 4 boosts, once for each lap, but now, once you get past the first lap, you get boost power and you're able to use it as many times as you want. The catch is, it takes away health now, so you have to be smart, because if you use it too much and you can't get to a healing pad in time before you hit a wall or another racer, well, kablamo! But one of the bigger things you'll notice the minute you start playing though is that there are a lot more racers this time around. A pretty big jump from 4 to 30, which means it's a little bit more crowded, but since you have much better control, this makes racing a lot more engaging. And being able to unlock a huge variety of racers and finding which one that matches your playstyle could easily keep players coming back for a long time. And by doing so, it also helps improve your skills because it's even faster now. They didn't add 60 FPS for nothing. This time you're easily going over 1,000 kilometers an hour, which means that skill had to be a lot higher this time around if you wanted to complete the master difficulty. Or else, well, yeah, you know, fucking blammo. Speaking of gruesome deaths, there's an all-new death race mode where your goal is to race on this linear track trying to kill the other racers with a new side or spin attack. Oh my god, that is one gruesome death. Jeez, man. Like, it's not a quick explosion either. They made sure to go the extra mile and prolong this process of being burnt to a crisp. Like, whoever you just took out is burning alive. And here I thought racers screaming for their lives as they plummeted to their retirement. Like, fuck they retired. No. Nintendo, you had Captain Falcon shoot a bad guy in your little comic for the first game. You don't get to backpedal.
Oh yeah, he definitely fucking retired alright. Retired into the fucking afterlife. Like, no, seriously, like, come on. The guy went fucking boom boom. Ain't coming back from that. Never. Retirement. Nice fucking retirement plan.
But as cool of an idea this was to really show off one of the key new features of gameplay, I always felt Death Race to be more of a novelty than anything else. When you first see it, the name alone gets you pumped. You're like, oh yeah, Death Race, let's wreck some shit! But after maybe a minute of playing and realizing how awkward it is to actually attack, I could see people's enthusiasm for this mode drop pretty quickly. Not to mention after the first minute or so, it just becomes so boring because like I said, you're on a short, linear track trying to kill 29 other racers. Does this look like something you want to spend 6 or more minutes on doing mindlessly, and probably having to restart if you're a dumbass like me who kept falling off? I didn't think so. Now, given I played the game after this first, so it could be why I found it to be awkward to attack an X, but honestly, after maybe 30 minutes of playing around in this mode, I still found attacking really wonky in X, and it led to me dying more than anything. But while Death Race was, well, it was something. The best thing they could have done for this game was multiplayer. Oh my god, there's 4-player split screen, and oh my god, best addition ever. Okay, realistically, it's nothing that major, but this alone made F-Zero X superior over the SNES version. And honestly, what's more to say about this? It's F-Zero with friends. That speaks for itself. Okay, if I gotta say something, then let it be this. If it's a racing game and you don't have multiplayer, you better have a very good reason why it's not there. Or else, you're a fucking idiot. End of story. So all in all, F-Zero X was the perfect sequel you could make for a racing game. It expanded on everything you would have wanted them to expand on, and I will say this now. X is probably the most enjoyable version to play. It's not going to kick your ass if you're new to the series, as it has a really good balance of easy to learn, but difficult to master, which I can really appreciate because, well, oh my god, you're about to find out. In part 2, yes, I know I'm a rotten bastard for splitting this up into 2 episodes, but this would easily push 30 minutes otherwise, and I don't like going past 25. Even 20 is pushing it for me. But part 2 will be here soon, I promise, and it'll be worth the wait. I promise. But until then, you guys take care, be safe, be well, and I'll see you next time.